Let me comment for a moment about this matter of my first 2 years as a Christian, never talking to anyone who was a non-Christian about Jesus Christ. There was clearly a fear. Then I learned how to be filled with the Spirit, and Romans 12:1, present your body. I presented my body a living sacrifice, and I began to walk in the power of the Holy Spirit. And I began to do evangelism, but I was still afraid. And that part of me just stayed a long time. Almost every time and we did this week in and week out of speaking at a fraternity or a sorority or a dormitory and clearly presenting the gospel, I had to deal with fear up front. And in the fall of 1990, by now I'd been on staff 31 years. I woke up in the morning in Prague knowing I was going to meet with the president's director of protocol to ask about coming to do an evangelistic dinner. And I woke up that morning in the hotel with this pit of fear in my stomach. It was still there. Had to move through it and move on. And early on, we heard Bill teach that it's not ability, but availability that counts. And as I learned to surrender to Christ, to ask the Holy Spirit to take control and empower me and walk in the power of the Holy Spirit. And finally, I would have to say I am at a point now where I don't fear evangelism anymore. I love to have the chance to share the gospel. So the abundant life that Jesus Christ speaks about in John 10:10 began to be my experience as I learned to walk in the Spirit and trust the Lord. But most of my years on staff, I just plain had to work through that and trust the Lord and trust the Spirit and go do it anyway. The whole thing of living by faith in the facts rather than in feelings has been really an important part of my walk with Christ. I continue to have to, the beginning of a day or the beginning of an event, turn my attention consciously to trusting in fact and not in feeling, choosing that and then taking the step of obedience. Bill's favorite hymn was Trust and Obey. And that captures the whole concept of complete grace in which you trust. And then we're responsible to obey and we're enabled to obey. That a simple but biblical approach to life has totally changed how I live and think and has shaped us for now these decades.